In Endure and Survive, HBO decided to make some artistic changes that deviates from the original storyline, but the changes are great for character development and have a far greater emotional impact on the audience. Episode 5 is packed with action and emotion, and if you haven't watched, make sure you grab a box of tissues. Unfortunately, we don't directly pick up where we left off in episode 4 right away. If you recall, the last episode ended with two people that we can only assume are Sam and Henry. This episode starts off at a different point in time to add context to the story. We begin with people in the streets of a city celebrating and screaming freedom. They're also screaming profanities. I will warn you that some of the scenes were very graphic and hard to watch. They were beating and killing Fedra soldiers. As the story unfolds, we come to learn that Kansas City is broken away from Fedra. This links us directly to the last episode when Ellie brings up, there's the QZ, but where is Fedra? From this, we can conclude that these scenes happen before Ellie and Joel arrive to town, and we can assume we might come to learn more about Kathleen. We then see the same two people that we saw at the end of the last episode hiding from the people searching for collaborators and Fedra soldiers, so we can infer that they're somehow connected to Fedra. Next, we're shown multiple Fedra collaborators locked up. Kathleen is questioning them for the location of Henry. She's trying to convince them that they'll be safe if they tell her, and if not, they'll die. This tactic works, and she gets some information about his whereabouts, but not the exact location. However, Kathleen is a liar and orders her men to kill them all, which shows that A, she cannot be trusted, and B, she's a force to be reckoned with. Up until this point, this is all original story to further the plot of their original character. I think HBO uses storytelling to keep the viewers engaged in the world in ways that player in the game would by doing side missions. They're doing what they can with the tools at their disposal. So we get a little more detail on the two people that we're sort of following along in this episode. They're hiding out in an attic and the little boy is deaf. They also have only a little food supply left, leaving them only 11 days to figure out how to escape the city with no ammo. We see that the older one is planning to escape through the tunnels, but the doctor which they're confiding with warns against it. This leaves us very curious as to what is in those tunnels that no one wants to go near. Here it is revealed that the two characters are in fact Sam and Henry. The audience can assume that they are getting a view of Sam and Henry's side of the timeline leading up to crossing paths with Joel and Ellie. Sam and Henry run out of food and it comes time that they need to make their escape of the city. Henry draws a superhero mask on Sam to keep him feeling brave, and we're all left a little bit in our feelings. Here there are some parallels to the game. Henry tells Sam that he's been watching them, Kathleen and their men, and knows their patterns. In the game he told this to Joel, but I think telling Sam in this story helps build the tension. As they're making their way out, they hear gunshots. Henry sees that Joel is fighting Kathleen's men, and the audience can gather where we're at in the story's timeline relative to the last episode. We come to find out that when Henry sees Joel for the first time, his plan immediately changes. And we're finally getting some more comedic banter when Henry states that Joel's tone is weird and Joel replies, everything is great. One of the biggest deviation that HBO made is making Sam deaf. I was actually a little worried here at first because I thought the relationship built between Ellie and Sam in the game wouldn't be the same, but I was wrong. We still get to see Ellie and Sam laughing and even get a familiar game scene where Henry comments that he hasn't seen him laugh or smile like that in a while. While Sam does appear older in the game, I feel they decided to make him younger and deaf to show how much he relies on Henry. When Henry tells Joel he used to be a collaborator, he doesn't want to work with him. There's this underlying sense that they both need each other to get out of the city. Henry knows the way out and Joel can help protect them through his shooting skills. So Henry explains that they are escaping the city through the maintenance tunnel. Just like in the game, they elect to go through the sewers. We're given some stakes to help build suspense when Henry mentions that the tunnels are believed to be filled with infected since Fedra ran them underground. I love how they maintain parts of the game storylines, like finding the drawings and the little school down in the tunnels. We see a drawing on the wall of Ish and Donnie. To give you a little backstory, in the game you find notes left around of a family living in the sewers, away from the infected. Sadly, as Joel mentioned in the show, they all became infected. Finally, the comic book has come in. So happy to see it because we see it all over the game. As they wait and rest for a bit, we come to find out why Henry is wanted by Kathleen. He was responsible for her brother's death. Sam got sick with leukemia, and the only way to get medicine from Fedra to help him was to turn over Kathleen's brother, the leader of the resistance. We all know we'd do anything for our loved ones, so this dynamic helps the audience sympathize with Henry, even if he had to betray the trust of the resistance. We're also shown Kathleen in her childhood home and kind of get to understand how much her brother meant to her and why she's so hell-bent on getting revenge. Just like in the game, they finally exit the tunnels and have made it to a seemingly abandoned residential area. And if you're here for the action, we also get to see a similar sniper scene as well. Except this time, guess who shows up? Kathleen. Kathleen and her men are here to find Henry. Joel is able to take out the sniper, but now needs to help them escape Kathleen. The suspense when Joel is trying to take the driver out and the gun jams. Oh my. Kathleen really is a character I, like I'm sure most of you, have grown to hate. She puts most conventional morals to the side and is willing to kill kids and innocent people. Just saying that's not cool. She believes that Sam should have died from leukemia and they shouldn't have messed with fate. The tension in this standoff scene builds as they have Henry, Sam, and Ellie backed into a corner. Henry decides in order to save the kids, he needs to hand himself over. Honestly, I really thought this is how it was going to end, and I was like, what the heck? This is not how the game goes. But then, the truck that was chasing them down earlier falls underground, and for the first time in what feels like forever, we get to see all the infected running out from the ground. Now, Ellie, Sam, and Henry use this opportunity to try to escape from the infected and Kathleen. This scene was chaotic and the first real zombie action we've gotten all season. It was amazing. And then we see the Bloater. The horror on Perry's face. That thing can take people out like nothing. I would hate to cross paths with one of those. And then we see the Bloater tear off Perry's head. Crazy. We get some satisfying closure here with Kathleen dying to a child's clicker. Sweet, sweet karma. And again, they are starting to close the episode with some tie-ins to the game. Joel, Ellie, Sam, and Henry narrowly escape the chaos and make it safely to a motel room, but not without more conflict. I love seeing Ellie and Sam still growing their relationship. Just like the game, Sam asks Ellie if she's ever afraid, and Ellie replies of scorpions, but also of being alone. He also then asks her if she thinks that people are still inside once they get infected. Sam then shows Ellie that he got bitten. In the game, it's more of a secret, but I love that HBO went this route because Ellie then tries to give some of her blood to cure him. So sad because Ellie does have good intention and wants to help him, but a little bit naive of her to do so. We understand that she's still young and maybe doesn't have it figured out. She then promises to stay awake all night with Sam. In the game, she leaves the room and goes to sleep, but here she stays awake with him and eventually falls asleep in a chair behind Sam. When Ellie wakes up, she calls for Sam, and we can see that Sam has turned and attacks Ellie. And unfortunately, the end of the episode is the same as the game, where sadly, Henry shoots Sam. Puzzled by his actions and riddled with guilt, Henry unalives himself in front of Joel and Ellie. The whole time, I was telling myself, okay, I won't cry because I know what's gonna happen. But after Ellie and Joel buried the bodies and I see the notepad that Sam used and it said, "I'm sorry," the floodgates opened. And that's the beauty of the story that HBO is telling. They honestly know how to tell your emotions. Although HBO made some changes, it kept the story flowing and the outcome was the same. I really love how HBO has developed this story. Let me know down in the comments how you felt about all the changes in this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this, and we'll be back with episode 6 breakdown.